YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. Look at this. We've got the FlyWing FW200. Amazing little creature. On our maiden videos, we crashed this thing, and I have been practicing with it, and I found out a feature that I did not mention, and I was like, oh my goodness. So you may hear in our mics the wind. So this feature is big enough that I said, oh my goodness, I can't believe we missed this feature because it's insane. All right, so what we're gonna do, okay, so it just found signal. So it's got that solid green light. You're gonna have to move to the side. There you go. All right, so we're gonna take off. We're gonna take off right now. All right, return to home, normal, stop, run. I don't know what that does. Stable, acro, manual, right? So we're just gonna start. It's gonna spin up. Then we're gonna press and hold this to go up into the air. Once it gets about 1 meter off the ground, then it's controllable. You don't have to do anything. You can just stop doing what you're doing. This does all the normal flight controls, drone style auto leveling, yaw control. And then of course you can fly it just for fun. I can tell you this right now, this helicopter is one of the most stable, easy to fly things we've ever had. And it is incredibly agile and easy to fly, even in the ground effect, which is where we are now. That's incredible. Very hard to do that as a pilot. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna show you the feature. We're gonna start off with what I didn't have in our first video. This is the feature that I didn't show. So I'm gonna bring it up a couple of steps. There is a point where this feature becomes available, and I believe it's somewhere like this. I'm gonna go into acro. And you'll notice a change in the pitch or at the speed of the rotor. Okay, now I'm gonna just push all the way up on this left stick, and I'm gonna pull back on the right stick. Excuse me, I didn't quite get it. I think it's kind of, and I haven't figured out if it's like a one motion or if you have to hold it for a second. And I'm gonna bring it down again because I brought it way up in my testing. And here off camera, I felt like I was going straight up with it and then down. There it goes. And now it's flying upside down and I'm not even looking at it. That is insane.
It's crazy.
And then look, you can fly it still. You can still control it, which is crazy. So the helicopter is flying that upside down right now for me. You can go up or down. And then if you get confused or you think it's not gonna work, return to home. Oh, that is so cool. I'm coming out of acro mode and I'm just gonna show you the return to home. We got all nervous the other day because it went up instead of down. What it does is it looks at that sensor that comes out the bottom and it watches for the ground. If it sees the ground, it'll go ahead and land from a low distance. Otherwise, just use GPS to come land right here. That's where we took it off from, okay? So again, I'm doing nothing with this, okay? I'm just gonna totally trust the system. If it doesn't come out of that position in about 2 minutes, I'll go ahead and take over. But just looking at it, it is just gonna chill there, okay? Until it gets the commands from GPS, it's gonna find its way home, and then it's gonna land right there. And it's gonna look like it's sort of lost and confused for a minute, but then eventually it's hopefully gonna turn and move and not make a fool out of me. But this is what happens when you do things on camera. So it's just chilling there. Now I wanna just try one thing. I'm sure if we waited long enough, it would do it. But if you're ever in any doubt about what's going on, I'm gonna go to normal. I'm just gonna move it a little bit. Maybe it's got bad signal. I'll bring it down just a hair so it's a little bit closer, easier to see. Okay, equally distant. Go to return to home. See how it's going up? It got the signal. It's gonna find its position geospatially, and then it's gonna bring it back to the position where it's supposed to land, which is about 20 feet in front of us right now. And those were the two main features, and we undermined its ability to do the full function. Again, I'm not touching anything here at all, nothing. I'm just watching it, just like you guys. Again, just to prove it, it's gonna come land right now. That is incredible. Just like a drone, just like a DJI or something like that. And part of the reason this thing is expensive is because it has the full flight controller. This is not just a stabilizer. This is not an auto leveling gyro. This does all that stuff. I mean, the thing is flying upside down. It's literally landing itself. And not only that, but look at the position. It's gonna find the same home position that we took off from, which is incredible. So when we talk about one key U-turn and things like this that they put on the eSheen models, this is nothing like that. This is a legitimate return to home function. I didn't even look at that. Guys, flying helicopters is hard. And no, there's not some like, Nate isn't hiding around the corner, okay? So look, now it's just chilling, okay? I wanna put it to normal and you'll see the light switch. And then we'll put it to stop and we can take off again right now. All you gotta do is hold the button. Now the tail is opposite wind. You would probably like to take off and then get it pointed into the wind like this because it won't wind vane as bad. But you see what's happening there, that little oscillation? I have noticed that sometimes that'll happen. And so as with any electronics, be ready. But just look at how amazing that is, guys. Incredible technology in this little bundle of joy. It's crazy. What we're probably gonna do is I'm gonna fly the rest of this battery and then we're gonna have my son fly it upside down. He does not know how to fly a helicopter upside down. Now, when I flew it upside down for you guys in the first video, I was doing it in manual mode. Okay, so you can also flip back over without going to the emergency. If it starts beeping, we'll run out of time, okay? So here's acro. So stick up and back quick. There it goes. And then forward and down. Forward and down. Forward and down. Forward and down. So the only thing I don't like about this is it's confusing. The controls get mixed up, okay? Which is normal. Okay, so down and up. There it goes. Flipped over. And there you go. Now we're back in control. Amazing. Now, I'm not sure what other acro tricks this thing could do. And to be honest, I'm kind of listening for the beep. We're getting close to that time frame. You get about 5 minutes of flight time. And just to remind them, look at the windsock.
Yeah, it is very
This is windy. Okay, show the grass. Ooh, let's fly in the grass. Okay, this is hay, not just grass, folks. So this is tall grass, and I did cut the grass out here, but you can see up against this grass, it's pretty intense. Okay, now I want to see if we can bring this down. Okay, in acro. There you go. Okay, now I'm going to turn it around. And guys, this is well beyond my skill set here. Seriously. I'm not sure if I can do this, but I am willing to put my tail on the line for you guys. So I'm gonna bring it down to the ground and see if we can cut the grass. Okay, this is just pushing up on the stick, a little bit of balancing. This is incredible, guys. That's cutting the grass. Oh, yes! Okay, so guys, I'm gonna turn around and then I'm gonna come out of this mode, okay? So watch this a little bit, a few mistakes high. Oh, so cool. Return to home if you don't mind. Okay, now let's see if this comes to home. Okay, now it's going fairly quick. I'm not controlling it. It's just kind of bringing itself to altitude. And I think it's gonna come home still. If not, it might be something about switching to stable before you switch to ready to home or return to home. So now let's see what happens. Let's go back another 15 steps here. If it overshoots, I'm gonna take over just so we don't kill the battery, of course. Amazing, amazing, guys. I feel so bad because normally when we do these reviews, I feel like we get so thorough on stuff that it almost becomes boring. But we missed some of the most insane features of this helicopter, and I feel bad about it because this thing is way better than we showed in the first video. And let's just be honest, in a sport of flying things, keep that in the background. In a sport of flying things, you want to be the pilot. I get it, you get it, everybody gets it. But the thing is, this is incredible and super cool technology. I still haven't seen a drone that flips upside down and lets you fly it upside down. I have seen planes that come in and fly vertical, and again, very amazing, but look at that. So cool. And how long is the video?
Well, we're at 10 minutes right now.
So they said 5 minutes of flight time. That's well over 5 minutes of flight time. So I'm gonna brag on this thing one more time. Yes, it's expensive. Some of you are gonna think that's way too much for this helicopter, but I am here to tell you, the bigger helicopters are coming in for some pretty high price tags these days. This thing is feature packed. It's actually easy to fly. It is very capable, and it is a great buy at that price point. I can't believe all the stuff it does. And by the way, if you don't believe me, just go put it up against a DJI and see how much we're talking about. Plus, this thing is so small, compact, easy to fit. Oh, cool. Is that a... Yes, we do stop for airplanes here on Brian Phillips RC. That guy's low too.
Yeah,
is he gonna go over the clouds or under?
No, he's way under.
He's under big time.
Way
Okay,
under
cool. So let's take a look at this real quick. Beautiful. Love this thing. We're gonna have Andrew flying next. I'm gonna have him fly upside down. Also, this thing tucks into that hole, okay? I missed that, and that was why we were striking. You see how it pulled up and it was under there? That's the way we had it. If you do the same thing, what's gonna happen is your canopy is gonna run into these moving parts and it's gonna sound like garbage. That's because this piece fits right in that slot.
Wait, show the piece on the bottom of the canopy again.
That little extension goes into this piece.
Gotcha.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is we'll switch out of the battery that came with it. We'll switch into, I believe it's 700 milliamp hour instead of 850, 3S, 30C pack. Something we had from Eachine, just happens to have an XT30 on it. And we're gonna come right back out in the same wind. And by the way, full disclosure, those are really nice control horns. And guess what? I broke one of them on my first flight. We stripped by pulling the screw out. We put it back in. We were able to fly 3 or 4 flights. And then actually I had one where it kind of flew away a little bit. And I think it's because it finally worked its way back out, okay? Crashed in the grass here. This thing sat there, cutting the grass. You see that? Don't know. Put it in the stop mode. It stopped. Nothing was broken. Came in. That thing had pulled out. So I replaced it with an appropriate one. Okay. So one thing to keep in mind, as with any crash, just make sure all your components are still intact. Once I redid that, everything went back to normal. I didn't even put one click of trim anywhere. Very cool. All right, stay tuned. One more flight coming. Okay, so I've got this battery. This is an Eachine battery, and we ended up going during our unbox build radio setup. This is 700 milliamp 30C 11.7. You'll note it's not even that tight, but I just wanted to show you how easy it is to get this thing to fly. Okay, we're using those batteries in place of a 45C 850. So we have plenty of capacity to fly for several minutes. But just so you know, Andrew, who's my oldest son, he's gonna have a little bit shorter flight time, and that's okay. We'll just know that. Okay, now, when I start this thing, please hold that. When I start this thing, and you don't get a battery all the way in like I just did there, make sure it gets all the way purchased, okay? And I like to lay this one down and let it initiate by watching the LED. It's green. And I just wait and watch. And normally I set this crosswind. That was not very smart. You want it to be pointed into the wind, okay? Like this. I didn't do that. I should have done that because then it'll wind vane when it lands, okay? So I don't know if you have to unplug it or if you can just switch to return to home and then go back to normal, which I'm gonna try, okay? So now this canopy, again, and I just wanted to throw this out there. I was thinking about this while I was grabbing a new battery. I was in there by myself, and the camera crew and Andrew stayed out here, and I was just thinking to myself, you know, we do a lot of second thoughts videos. It's only been, what, like 4 or 5 days since we did this video, maybe? And we don't often do a second video for Banggood items. We just don't, because they're usually not good enough to justify a second video. But they're fun. They're just fun, kind of like toy grade things. This is probably the most hobby grade thing we've ever done. And it's also one of the most beginner friendly items we've ever done. It's expensive, sure, no doubt. But this thing is awesome. And I felt bad because we kind of shortchanged the people who put this together. And we didn't do it on purpose. So anyway, our apologies to you guys watching at home. Let's go around here and yeah, we got a solid green light now.
Okay.
Okay, so Andrew, if you want to step over here. Okay, so this is my oldest son, Andrew. So let's just reevaluate the safety features. Stop is here.
Yep.
Normal's here. You're gonna be going to the middle switch, not the last switch down, okay? So you're gonna go like towards your belly, one click. You're gonna go back if there's a problem, or you can just go straight to return to home. If you go to return to home, I want you to let me control it while it's returning to home, and then we'll evaluate, okay? But if all goes to plan, you're gonna keep control the whole time. Yep. Okay, so remember, to start the prop, you're gonna pull it back to run, and you're gonna be Johnny on the spot, ready to be controlling, okay?
Yep.
You see where the wind is? If the wind shifts drastically during landing, you can come out of return to home at any time and just fly it into the wind, because you're less likely to tip over when you're spooling down, okay? If it tips over, it's probably not gonna damage anything anyway. Yeah. All right, so we talked about this off camera for about 30 seconds. The sun is here, and he's concerned about the light, so we're gonna fly in the bowl. It's turbulent there. So we're gonna be up a little bit higher over the tops of the trees, and then we'll start the flip. Now, also, before we get this thing in the air, you have to kind of flick the sticks like this. Okay. So it's almost like you're trying to flip it over in a real maneuver, and then the controls will get wonky and almost backward on you. So be prepared. If you're not comfortable, yaw the aircraft so you can see what direction it moves. Okay. Don't let it get away from you. And if you get out of control, just say, hey, I need some help, and then I'll take over. Yep. All right, so let's step back a few more steps, and you're ready to fly when you're ready. And you have to hold the stick up until it goes. Once it's in the air, then you're in control. Also, if you see it only going about, oh, hold on. Hold on, we're hitting. Do you guys hear that? It was hitting. There's the tail. If this ever happens, try your best to get it into tall grass, put it in stop immediately. What just happened there is exactly what we experienced, okay? And I think it might have, so it stopped. Be careful. If it were to start spinning, you don't want to be out of protection. So hold it away from yourself, get it level. Is everything working? No. Look, the control horn broke on landing, unfortunately. Okay, so I think we're gonna have to figure out how to fix that and then come right back. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at what happened, okay? See, this is free. This is not, because it's still live, okay? Everything is moving except for the side that's free, okay? So I wanna talk about what happened there. I was just talking about this and I forgot to get that tucked in. You really have to remember to get that thing tucked in there. That holds it away from the controls. It's possible that's what caused us to have that conflict. I don't know for sure, but I can tell you right now, that was not ideal, okay? So that thing's off. Let's look at this. See that? What do you know? It broke the one that I fixed. Why did it break the one that I fixed? Probably because the one that I fixed was not as strong as the factory one. 2 millimeters is too big. 1.5 millimeters, I think is the right size. Now this is still energized. This is energized for a reason, because I want to actually have everything servo-wise centered, okay? Now, you can also move it. You can see the servos. These things are rock solid servos. They are strong. Okay, now I'm not sure why that broke. It was probably on impact. It's just the nature of where it hit. But you can see it broke that, and that's a thick servo mount. See? It just broke it. Boom. But you'll note it didn't break either of the other two. And even on close inspection, it looks okay. All right, so that all being said, we're gonna unplug the battery, we're gonna fix the control horn, and then we're gonna come right back and we're gonna actually do that exact exercise again. All right, so I found this. This is just a really small micro servo control horn. And this is the one that came off of it originally, so you can see it's bigger. But also I want to point out that this is kind of backward from like every other servo we have. So it's spatially a little bit different, okay? And you'll see that even though the splines are the same, this has some voids in it, okay? So if you look and you study the servo carefully, you can study that there's a flat and a flat. Okay, so if you're trying to match this perfectly, you're probably not going to. So just be prepared to be close and not exact, right? So what I'm doing is I'm gonna hold these together. This is just, I'm gonna just teach you how I did it. Now, how did I find that? I went through my bag of spare horns that the camera crew would make fun of me for keeping. And I had this happen to be a set from probably a FlyWing A10 that I did a million years ago, okay? So there's those pieces. All right, so you see this? I'm just looking at thickness. I'm saying, okay, that's probably about the right amount of strength. Okay, but we're gonna be going to the middle hole. Now, if you can clear, you don't have to take the additional material off, and that's probably what I would be inclined to do in this case. But if you're curious or if you're concerned, you can actually cut off this excess because it's not needed, okay? So I'm gonna use side cutters. I'm gonna cut to the first set of holes. See, just like that. I'm gonna take and leave the extra material out. And then these are just run-of-the-mill standard side cutters, nothing special about it. We just don't wanna cut so close to the edge that we end up deflecting the hole. Okay, then I'm gonna take an X-Acto knife. Actually, I'm gonna use that again to give me some backing. So when I cut, it doesn't cut the counter. Okay, so we're just gonna walk blade tight. We're just gonna take a little bite. Now remember, where did it fail before? At the inside area. And why did it fail? Probably because we ran into the actual, we ran into something. Okay, now I'm gonna take the handle of this and just sand it down a little bit just to smooth the edges so it doesn't catch any wires and pull them. So just a real simple job there. Then the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lay these out of the way, obviously. I wanna make sure this screw goes in and we get good purchase. Everything is so small, of course. Okay, so that's gonna go through, but it's gonna go through and it's gonna be threading. So I have to go to the end of the stroke and then run it. That's gonna open up and make sure that we're getting good purchase, okay? So I'm confident with that. The next thing I have to do is kind of the scary part. It's not really scary. I just wanna make sure, because it says GPS, you're in stop, you're in normal. Okay, lay this out of the way, lay this out of the way. Put the knife over here, get everything out of the way just in case all your efforts are in vain and it starts spinning. Shouldn't though. Okay, so now we're just gonna let it. Okay. All right. So now what I can do is I can, now that we've assured it's not gonna start spinning, I can take this 1.5 millimeter driver and see if it'll drive in, and it does. Thank goodness. The last time we had to drill it out. So this is probably gonna work even better than the one that I picked. Okay, so that's tight. And you're like, but Brian, that needs to pivot. No, the ball will pivot. Okay, then I'm gonna take this, and now that we know that it's roughly centered, how do we know it's centered? Because I'm moving the sticks. And then I'm letting go. And this thing is level, so if it's auto leveling, it's going to attempt to bring that to a level condition, okay? So I want that thing level. Now I'm just gonna kind of make sure that that bites on one of the teeth of the spline, okay? And then I'm just gonna actually slip it on there. Yep, it's on there now. And now I can use this screw to actually pull it all the way tight. Very tight. Tight like a tiger. And then we're gonna verify the control surfaces are fully actuating and it's totally clear. Okay. So everything is clear, everything is working. Now we can basically reset for that test. And guys, I apologize. I don't know exactly if that was my doing, but we're gonna find out in about 30 seconds here because we're gonna put this back in the air And I'll probably go ahead and take off, land, and then hand the controls over to my son just to not put him in a tough spot in case something weird happens again. So I'm gonna show you one extra step I didn't do before, and that is I didn't verify that that was in the pocket. It's very easy not to get it in the pocket. So I'm gonna put it in the pocket this time. See the pocket? Okay. All right, so when we see you next, we'll be outside. Stay tuned. Okay, so no time has passed. We just walked out from the door. We're gonna go ahead and wait for solid green, which we have. I'm gonna basically be the one commanding this for now. I'm gonna go to normal. We're gonna make sure everything fires up normal. Everything looks good. I'm gonna hold the stick. You guys just give it some room just in case. There we go. Okay, so as you can see, it's flying perfectly fine. Roll left, roll right, forward, back, and we are in normal mode. So I'm gonna try the return to home. Well, I returned to home really quick. Okay, so I am going to go back to stop. I'm gonna go to normal. I'm gonna try this again. You'll note it went to the auto gyro. A little bit weird, but anyway, we'll start again, see what happens. Holding the stick. This thing seems to be a pretty rock solid helicopter other than when something goes wrong, like every other helicopter. But I've never had a helicopter that I've crashed 3 times and replaced 2 control horns.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you see that? I wonder if the battery's low or something. Well, this is an aftermarket battery, so I guess we're gonna try a different one. We'll be right back. Okay, we decided we wanna just restart this and see if maybe we just got a bad boot because it had been plugged in for so long inside. The light was green though, that's the thing.
Mm-hmm. And then make sure you get the canopy tucked in.
It's tucked in.
Okay.
I double checked.
Perfect.
Okay, now I'm gonna try this again. All right, we got the beep beep beep. We're still doing a flash. It's a yellow flash this time, which is interesting. I'm not sure what exactly that means. Now it's green flashing. I think it was looking for GPS. And you'll hear an audible beep when it finds it, okay? I can't control how fast it finds it because the sky is clear, totally clear right now. And usually about the time you start talking about it, it finds it. Mm-hmm. So now technically you can take off. I'll show you what it looks like now. So you basically take off, it'll just only let you go to about eye level.
Oh, really?
Yep, until it finds it. And you can find it in flight too. Okay, so that's where it's limited, see?
That's weird.
Yeah, it's still auto levels and everything. There we go. So now, if it found it, there we go. Okay, good. So now it's locked in and it'll let us go up higher. So everything is working. We're able to go down, we're able to go up. Okay, we are not in control. Watch yourself. Okay, well, I guess that didn't work. That's a little scary. So what happened was, I don't think we did anything wrong. Let's go look at the helicopter. Luckily, we got it down on the ground this time, but it was almost like the auto leveling kind of sort of stopped all at once. Okay, I'm just gonna carefully approach it. It's got solid green. Wonder if the GPS signal was bad. Okay. Back here for you guys. All right, good, stop there. Okay, here we go. We're gonna try again. We're in normal. Giving it throttle to go up. That was me, I let go of the stick, sorry. That was me that time. I'm in stop mode. Our tail's not broken. All the controls seem to be working. Everything's moving. Okay. Wait, I want to check one other thing. Okay. I'm going to try again. See how it's spinning? Mm-hmm. You guys just stay back, just in case. Yeah, it's not auto leveling the same as what it had been. See how it's like wonky as heck? Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm gonna go to stop. Shouldn't hurt anything when it goes down. I'm not sure what the heck is going on, but that's pretty much what's going on. So we'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay guys, I figured out what was wrong. And what was wrong is that our control horn was allowed to slip because the square spline compared to a round spline has a different bite point. It allows for less slippage. And there it must have just done it again. But I put it to stop. So I think we've established that we need to get the right control horn. But I can't believe how many times this thing has crashed. That's like 5 times now. So let's check it for damage one more time. There's always a lot of movements going on. This ground is relatively soft here, so who knows, maybe it's fine. It looked like it kicked up dirt because we've been leveling this area here. And very carefully hold that. I'm gonna show you guys what the problem was. You can already see it probably, see? That's the problem. The control arm allows too much play. So we would have to get an appropriate control arm in order to make this fly. Now, just to prove to you that I'm right, I'm gonna show you flying again with that centered, and it's probably gonna do the same thing after a minute. So we'll just kind of keep it short. Normal, or return to home and then back to normal. That resets it, or it should. Oh, that's our low battery warning.
Oh.
So our low battery warning is also another factor. So it's not just about a heavy load, it's about a fast snapback on that servo linkage. So if you imagine the spline being square, that means it's got contact points on the top, so it's like a huge amount of torque, like a crescent wrench on there. Whereas a normal one just has like teeth going in all the way around, which is also a pretty good amount of torque. But this has a proprietary tooth style connection, and I guess since we've already got this deep, we're gonna have to show you what we do when we fix it. Okay, so for the perpetual walk of shame here, we'll unplug this battery just because it's annoying to listen to that beep. So you're right in our light. Go back, there you go, right there. See this? So that's what we fixed. And I don't know if I can just simply tighten this more. Oops. To prevent it from slipping. I feel like that almost certainly, that should make a pretty big difference. But I'm honestly not sure. So anyway, what I have to do is I have to figure out a way to emulate the factory design. This is what I'm talking about, guys. Okay, this is gonna be a fun one to film. You see how that's got the flats? Compared to, say, another control horn. This is another one that should have the same spline design that we used. See, it's got the right tooth count, but it doesn't have the flats. So I'm not sure if you know, in a pinch, if there was any other trick we could do. But I can tell you right now that it still makes me nervous, because when you have that level of loss of control due to a mechanical change in state, it's kind of dangerous. So anyway, what I'm gonna do is I wanna take this off and just look it over for damage, first of all. Like maybe we stripped out some of the gears. These are really nice servos, really nice servos. And if you look at that, it looks like maybe the teeth are a little bit eaten away. So let's just try this one and see if it slips on there just for fun. I don't know if maybe the one I picked is just a little bit off on size. Just for the sake of the video. Let's clip that off. See, that's on there. I don't feel like that slips at all. This one felt like it slipped, okay? So obviously that's gonna be too long. So yeah, because you're gonna be right in that slot point. So what we need to do is we need to search a little bit longer and we'll be right back. All right, so we're looking again. I'm gonna just have you guys see my rationale here. So this was the one we just used here a second ago. I found a couple that were of small size and they fit on there very nicely. Like no resistance going on and off, but also just a little teeny bit of slop. You see that? And that's not necessarily good. Now I'm gonna show you that. Let's juxtapose that to this one here, which is the factory one, okay? So the factory one goes on, it goes on easy, but it also goes all the way back in, okay? So it's a super similar fit, but it's a lot easier going on. It's straight, okay? Then this one, same spline count, it goes on too, but there's a lot of material there. Now remember, our problem wasn't the material, the problem was that this was allowed to spin, okay? So let's just explore our options here. This is our factory option. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna hold that in the center and see how that lines up. And then we're gonna go to where the hole is. And it looks like we would need to drill a hole on the very edge of this and could end up being weak, okay? So that's not a good option. These are the other choices that we use to create our first choice, okay? So we're a little bit reluctant to play with those. And then this is that the one we just did? It's similar to, but this is a 4 instead of a single, okay? So we're gonna see if that fits. Now we want it to be approximately flat right now, and that's got a really good purchase on there, and it's moving the servo. I mean, that's hard on the servo, so I try not to move it. So I feel like that's the best crack at success that we have, right? Ideally, I could fill the edges, but I just don't really have a good way of doing that. So what we're gonna do is we are gonna take and just modify this now again. We're gonna try again. Now, obviously, the only reason we bring you guys through these ridiculous circumstances is because we figure if you care enough to see how we got into trouble, I like to share how we got out of trouble. Because really, to be honest with you, there's a big reason why a lot of you guys come to Brian Phillips RC, and that is because, not because you want to see, you know, how I get out of trouble necessarily, but that's part of it. So we understand that. So we're going to try to bring that to you if we can. Okay, it doesn't always work out, but sometimes it does. Okay, so it looks like we're going to be on the second hole, and we're not going to shorten it this time. Okay, so I'm going to take my screwdriver and have it prepared with the original factory screw. We're gonna put this on and then we're gonna torque it down, okay? And we're gonna torque it down hard, okay? So I'm gonna have to brace this so it doesn't spin. And I honestly, that may have stripped during our crash, okay? But what came first, the chicken or the egg? That's the $10,000 question. What actually caused the crash and how can we avoid it in the future? Well, that's a tough call. So yes, you're noticing that I have all these control horns out and I've labeled them. This is a good idea for you guys that are starting to get into the hobby. As you start getting different servos, different servo styles, you can put them together in bags and then it just quickens the experience when you do have to try to fix something. Now, generally speaking, you don't have a weird one-off style. Like here, what are these? These are Spectrum 9-gram servos, okay? So just there's certain sizes of splines that you're gonna run into in your hobby experience. And you'll note that there's some in there that aren't organized yet. And there's quite a few actually that aren't organized yet. So I wanna take this now and I wanna screw it into the second hole in from the outside, okay? And that's probably going to go. It is. I had to push really hard to get it started, and that's okay because that's the way I kind of want it. And I need to Yeah, I'm trying to decide the best way to do this. I think that might be safe. I just need a little something to push against. Oh, here's a trick of the day. See that hole? I want to try to get this started in there, but I don't want to lose any more material than I absolutely need to. So I'm going to start the hole. And then that should let us get our threads in there. Okay, so I'm going to grab the threads. Yep, it's going like a charm now. All right, guys, this is part of the reason why we know some of you are here. So you can watch me figure out how to solve problems that I've gotten myself into. And make no mistake, when we do this stuff, you know, I realized I got myself into some of these mistakes. But at the same time, other times, like in this case, I'm not sure exactly what originated the problem. But the first time we crashed, I made a failed recovery. And that's what started this whole thing. If I wouldn't have made a failed recovery, we wouldn't be in this situation. So also in this process, I have scared off my son from wanting to fly. So now it's just gonna be, let's see if we can get the thing fixed so that you guys understand how we did it and what you can do if you run into a similar circumstance. We have crashed helicopters in the past too. And just to let you guys know, whenever we crash something, we always try to share what we did to fix it, because we understand that's a big part of the hobby. And a lot of you guys are like me, you're gonna get a toy and you're like, I wanna use it today because I'm going back to work on Monday and I'm on vacation right now and I don't wanna wait 3 weeks for this. I mean, I'll wait for 3 weeks, I'll go ahead and order the part, but the thing is I wanna fly it today while I wait for the part because you're impatient and childish like me. So, what?
Did you grab a new battery?
That was the battery that you grabbed me.
I did not get you a battery.
XBC 100 battery checker. That's an inactivity alarm.
Okay.
96%.
You grabbed it then.
So, if it starts beeping, you can do anything. I went in the menu just to make sure I wasn't missing some obvious button or something. But at this point, I'm just gonna go back out there and just prove that it worked or didn't work. And if it didn't work, then I'll go back with my tail between my legs and everybody can laugh. The proverbial laugh and point. Okay, we're gonna let that set up for a second. Okay, there's a servo wire that I pushed out of the way. And also I'm just noticing that there is a spot where I want to make sure the wires aren't going to touch. And it doesn't look like they will, but this is what I was looking at, guys, right here. See this? As that corrects back and forth, I don't want to cut this wire, like guillotine it. Okay. So I'll take that rubber band actually that's holding the battery and just pull it down tight. See, now it's not going to hit. So it's like this, guys. You can either assume everything is going to work perfectly, which is a very, very poor idea. In radio-controlled hobby, there's always something going wrong. And the quicker you acknowledge that that's a reality you're going to face, the quicker you're going to be ready to enjoy this hobby in a way that's, you know, actually enjoyable. Now, if you're expecting to never have headaches in this, it's probably the wrong hobby. I mean, to be perfectly frank. We want to be able to sit here and tell you that we never have problems, but we have problems constantly, okay? And that's just part of the nature of the beast. Okay. See how this is sitting? Do you see how that's like touching over here? I feel like that is not the way it was at the beginning. But I don't see anything that's bent. It's all square, it's all true. Oh, and you know what it is? That's a small indisparity of where the difference between this and that. You see the difference? That's the way that would go on, so it would pull it in just a hair. So I wonder if it gets to the point where we go down under this lip. See how that goes up and down? Maybe I can move the control to demonstrate. All the way down, if you go all the way down like to correct, maybe it's getting trapped in there, in the top of that, you know? So like the linkage is actually getting stuck. I don't know. We're gonna go out, we're gonna fly this one more time. I'll show you that it does all the cool stuff and we'll be right back. All right, so we just found out our mics are dead too. Yay. All right, Helicopter's got a green light. Everything seems to be normal and working. Okay. Holding the up arrow. Okay, there it is, guys. It's working, just like before. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll fly this around a little bit. Feels just fine. It would feel better if I knew that that control horn was the factory control horn, because evidently it's doing a lot. The other thing is, let's get real, guys. If you crash a helicopter, I know a lot of you have told me this before, you just pretty much have to go through it with a fine-tooth comb. And if you try to halfway fix stuff, you're gonna get halfway results. So in my case, I do that a lot. So forgive me for not wanting to wait for 3 weeks for a part. Oh jeez. It's collecting hay. That was quite the gust of wind. That's the landing sensor. Whoa. Exciting. See how fast it corrected though?
Yeah.
So let's go over the bowl. I just want to see if it'll even do any of the acro stuff anymore, but I don't want to do it with it in my face, just in case it does some stupid nonsense like earlier. Okay, that landing sensor, once it sees crap. Oh, is there a chunk
There's
of
like
grass
one
under
more
it?
blade of grass in there.
I wonder if that's what's up. Okay, if I go to acro, there's acro. Up, down, up. Okay, everything feels solid. I mean, it's like literally just sitting there, guys. I mean, this is still pretty incredible stuff. I feel bad that we had that crash because that's really what caused it, you know? That is nuts, guys.
That is.
Like that's like voodoo magic. You can still control it up and down. You can turn it around. It's a little less smooth, and if you get confused, you can just return to home, and it'll actually return to home. But I want to show you how to get out of it. So down and up. See? And it just switches. That is nuts. Incredible amount of technology in this. Oh, so cool.
Gosh.
Okay, so basically out of acro now, I'm going to bring it downhill quite a bit into the trees. You'll note that it does disappear into the trees if your trees are your backdrop. It is an absolutely gorgeous helicopter, really, if you get right down to it, no matter what other details we have to worry about. I feel like flying a helicopter, by the way, the default performance of this helicopter is when it comes into ground, close to ground contact, it's pretty much to land, okay? So part of the thing you'll notice about this is if you get in there and try to Enrique it like we did in the unbox, it's gonna fly away from your hand because it thinks the ground has come to it. I don't know how that works. Okay, let's take off again. By the way, sometimes you have to reset it, sometimes you don't. So I do return to home and then I go back to run, or excuse me, to normal, and then I put it to run. That strange hesitation is what gets me nervous as a pilot, because that hesitation is like when everything weird happens. It's always the second flight that we've had problems. Okay, I don't know why, but all I can say is I feel like we have it now. And guys, this is a cool helicopter. We don't have any obligation to bring you helicopters and airplanes that we think are garbage. Pretty much, if we go into it for a second thoughts, it's pretty much always a good airplane, good helicopter. Doesn't mean it's perfect. Doesn't mean I didn't break it. Doesn't mean that it's, you know, impervious to damage somehow. But what I can tell you is that if we like it enough to bring it to you twice, it's because it's a nice helicopter or aircraft. This one, we figured out a way to somehow totally screw that up by crashing it several times. We're crashing the uncrashable helicopter. I don't know if you guys remember my comment from earlier in the video.
What?
about the Phantom pilot around the corner?
Oh.
Can we blame him?
I was gonna say it wasn't even my fault this time.
Yeah.
Usually I crash the uncrashable stuff.
Yeah, camera crew does have a tendency to do that. That thing looks so sweet when the light hits the blades.
Mm-hmm.
One complaint in the auto leveling mode about this helicopter, and it is a minor one, is that I would like a little bit higher rotation rate. I think they call that a cyclic rate, where it can go around like this. It's so controlled that it's almost slow, okay? So now if I go to acro mode, I think it's a little bit quicker. It is a little bit quicker. But I feel like the coordination on the turns is a little bit lacking at times. And guys, it is windy. It's
very
strong,
windy.
man. Oh, it's beeping. You hear it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna try the return to home again. We'll just put it in that and we'll just throw caution to the wind. Hopefully it doesn't go try to land on the counter. So it's going to altitude. If it goes to altitude, it should point in the direction where it needs to go, and then it's gonna go there. And then it's gonna put its heading and vector correct. And then it should start to descend. I am gonna be like Johnny on the spot with the controls, but you know how to jump out of the way, right, camera crew? Guys, it's windy. I hope you can hear the noise because our mics died. You probably do hear it. But I just think it, you guys you're used to watching me fly. I'm literally been a spectator for like most of these flights, which is to me amazing and to me very cool. Now that being said, I'm not trying to take anything away from all the other amazing helicopters we reviewed in the past. And there is something to be said for, Brian, I'm a beginner. I want to learn to fly a helicopter. Terrible choice. What? What did you just say it's perfect for beginners? Yes, perfect for beginners. Terrible choice to learn to fly a helicopter. You want to know why? Because it's too capable for people that don't know how to fly.
Yep.
And it's not capable enough to teach you how to crash.
Mm.
But you can certainly crash it. So it's a complicated, expensive, technically challenging, very cool, very good flying, amazing type of drone toy that does have hobby characteristics, but you have to know how to fly a helicopter. You will not pick this thing up and put it into the 3D mode in the manual and fly it like you expect. And by the way, manual still has a heck of a lot of stabilization going on because I would not be flying it myself, okay? So I'm really excited that this FlyWing FW200 is so cool, but it's almost too cool. And when I say that, I mean, it does so much of the work that it sort of undermines its whole principal concept, which is take something that's hard, make it easy enough that we can teach people to fly. That's why I keep coming back to not smart, but safe is one of the best training aids. But Brian, there's all sorts of other competitive brands that have auto leveling. Yes, and I agree. And some of them are very good. Not the least of which would be a Vector and Aeros, Reflex and FMS, which FMS makes like almost all the airplanes that we buy. And they're very good. But the thing is, to roll everything up in a package deal that delivers a plane that will help you learn to fly, or a helicopter that will help you learn to fly without just giving it to you on a silver platter and saying, no, son, let me show you how it's done. And everybody that has a father understands what I'm talking about. When you're a kid and they're like, no, let me show you how to do this. And then next thing you know, the engine's replaced in the car. And you're like, well, I watched you do it, but I didn't really do much. I don't know if you guys were like that when you were growing up, but my dad was a mechanic for many years. And so whenever we did mechanical stuff like that, it was a lot of me watching and hold the flashlight. So anyway, luckily for me, I did a lot of it on my own. So I learned how to do most of that stuff myself. But the key is, when you have an airplane or a helicopter or a quad or whatever it is that flies itself too good, you're not flying. So just keep that in mind. And there's a reason that the people at the flying fields gripe and complain about AS3X and safe and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, if it gets your butt out of the chair and in front of an awesome helicopter like this that's really flying, you are going to have your whistle wet. Wet whistle.
Yes.
whistle, wet.
Wet your whistle.
That's it.
Yeah.
So guys, without further ado, stop delaying. Order this thing if you have lots of money burning your hole in your pocket. And if you don't just have money burning a hole in your pocket, or you really honestly think it's a great choice, I gotta say, it is a niche, but it is a very cool niche, and I love it. But the thing is, it is still a niche. It is still gimmicky. Right?
Yeah.
Is that the truth?
Yeah.
It's not the smartest helicopter in the world.
No.
I don't care what other people say. It is very good.
Yeah.
I crashed it many times in front of your eyes just to demonstrate how it can be broken, and yet I still managed to fix it with garbage from my basement. Okay, not recommended by the manufacturer. But at the end of the day, it is awesome. It is a sight to see, and it is something cool. But I guarantee you, when you and your buddies are cracking a bunch of beers, grilling around, you know, hanging out, this is going to be the type of thing you're going to get out. You're going to fly it. Something weird's going to happen. You're going to look like an idiot. And you're going to be like, well, we're perfect 17 times yesterday. Yes.
Right.
It just seems to be the way that things go when you get this type of helicopter. Because at the end of the day, you want your thumbs doing it.
And I think it goes back to the thing you always say, like, you have to earn flying. Like, no one can just hand it to you. Flying that does not make me a pilot. But flying something that has safe helps me actually learn to fly.
Yeah, because it gives you enough to screw up.
Yeah.
But not so much, because there's just certain things about a helicopter that you have to mix together.
Yeah.
Like throttle management and pitch control. If you have it set up right, it's not that hard to keep the thing in a hover with stabilization. But it is incredibly difficult in the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s to learn to fly a helicopter. It was incredibly difficult. You almost exclusively had to know to fly planes and be good at it, just even to get in the door. So, as with other aviation models, I feel like this thing, and this is just the Brian Phillips no BS review, it is awesome, but it is awesomely niche. So if you're in that niche, buy it from the links in the video description. You'll help support our channel. You'll help bring you more videos, even though the Chinese don't watch these whole things. And by the way, just in case you guys are wondering, we're with a lot of Chinese companies, okay? They ask us to do things, and we're like, that's a great suggestion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We do what we're gonna do, and they work with us because we bring an audience. It's not because we're the best. I'm not the best pilot. I'm not the best reviewer. We might be the most truthful, but the thing is, when we bring you a review and there's crashes, I desperately want to cut it out because it's embarrassing. But also, it helps teach like 40 people that just watch this video. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to teach you guys. We're trying to bring value to the hobby. We're trying to, encourage people to get off the couch and do it. We're trying to encourage people to get back into it after a hiatus. We're trying to encourage people not to get planes that lead to one and dones. These are the types of things that we do here on Brian Phillips RC, teaching all the time, digging in, using wrong terminology, building bad habits. These are all the things we do here, but we're gonna do it together. And as long as you guys keep coming back, we're gonna keep doing it. So thanks for watching. This was a long one. I'm sorry, we promised my son would fly, and that just did not happen today, because after I crashed a number of times, I was a little bit nervous to put him in a situation where he felt like he was gonna have to crash because I suggested he do it. So anyway, my apologies for that. That was probably not the best move. Although, to my defense, at the time, we weren't having problems once it started. And that is something that you need to know if you're teaching your children or young adults or people that, maybe older adults, your parents or whatever, to fly. When you develop a skill like flying, you may not be able to share that skill as easily as you would like. So you have to be open-minded and as patient as possible. It is hard to teach people to fly. Right, camera crew?
I was going to say, why are you looking at me?
The relationship that you have to the trainee changes things a lot. So be careful who you train and under what circumstances you train them. I have not trained my wife to fly.
Our son
Marriage
is
advice.
helping me.
We also do that here
Yeah.
on Brian Phillips RC. So, all right, guys, FW200, amazing by FlyWing. Get one if you meet that super tight niche. You will love it. Come back for more.